Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Monica.
And I'm Andrea. And welcome to episode 5 of season 3, Die Trying. This episode is all about the Discovery finally coming in contact with the Starfleet. Then we get to meet the new Admiral, Vance, who I may or may not have a crush on. So we'll talk about that part later. But let's get into initial reactions. What did you think of this episode?
Well, I like the first 15 for sure, maybe 20, maybe the first 20 minutes. And then it just went downhill for me. I didn't connect with the rest of the story, but I really like seeing Discovery connect with the future Federation. That really draws me into this episode. What did you think?
I liked this episode. I liked seeing the new Starfleet Federation. I loved seeing what has become the excited faces of all of our Discovery crew. It was like, oh my gosh, that was theoretical. Oh my gosh, that's organic. What? I loved seeing their reactions to it. And I have to say, Michael's attitude sort of threw me off. I'm like, Michael, if you don't chill, stop it. Stop it, Michael. Stop it with the attitude.
Yes. Your boss's boss. Behave.
Yes. And honestly, he's not even your boss's boss. He could, at this point, he doesn't know what to do with you. Right. So you're not in Starfleet in his mind.
Yes.
Chill. But we'll get into it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to say it because it's the running theme in this episode that I saw. And one of the first things I want to talk about is the hero's welcome versus the real welcome.
Oh.
And that was a huge theme for me in this episode because in Discovery's mind, I felt like they were expecting a hero's welcome. And what they got was, who are you? And why should I care who you are? That entire reaction threw them for the rest of the episode, because even though they know it's Starfleet's procedure to possibly purge them from the records, they were expecting to be treated like kings and welcomed home and hugged and pulled into the fold. And they were met with animosity and distrust. And all of that was valid. It was super valid for Starfleet to treat you that way. Right. I think Michael was expecting everyone to treat her the way that one man who wasn't actually a part of Starfleet treated her. And I was like, Michael, if you don't hold your tongue. This entire episode was Michael, not the time or place. Michael, not the time or place. Michael, not the time or place. You need to be Saru in this moment. You need to be Saru. You need to be political.
Yes. Saru was really good though.
He was.
When Michael would say something wrong, Saru would turn it just gently, had more of a political stance on it, just very diplomatic, I should say. Yes. Good leadership there.
He gets a 10 out of 10 in this episode for his diplomacy, his understanding of the politics. And that's why I always say that Saru is the better captain than Michael right now. And I love Michael. She's always going to be their person who's going to toe the line with you and be in the trenches with you, but she does not understand that this is a game of politics sometimes. Right. And Saru gets that.
Right.
It was also nice to hear that Kanamar joined the Federation. Yeah. That his people are it was nice to know that they didn't fall back into raised as cattle. It's nice to know that they didn't fall to the Baul again. That history didn't repeat itself. And it's also nice to know that, we don't know, but hopefully that they didn't become horrible overlords to the Baul, right. like they did to them. So it was I guess because the Federation probably wouldn't have allowed them to stay if they were doing horrible things to people on their planet. So it's nice to know that they got that worked out, which is nice.
Right. We also learned later, not really jumping ahead, but just later we learned that the Barzan also joined. So it seems as though the Federation continued and opened up. It's just that Earth decided no, separate and to keep their dilithium to themselves. But other people joined.
Well, Earth, that was after the burn though, because the Vance said it was 350. And granted, we don't know if the other ones left or not, because Vance can't contact them. He said he can't. Last he heard from Kanamar that they were in. but he doesn't know anymore because they're out of reach.
Right. Well, we at least know that the Kelpians didn't send like a Dear John letters telling the Federation, no, we are no longer connected with you.
That's true. We see Vance's first interaction with Tall, and it was sort of like sweet, but at the same time saddening how he spoke to her, because she was like, I'm not Cinna. And he's like, Cinna wanted to be here, but like he also wanted to see Earth snow for one last time. And he was like, please understand, we were familiar. He and I were familiar. You and I are not. And you could see the hurt in her eyes when he said that. I was like, oh, but like in her mind, she is familiar with you because she has all of his memories. So you're her friend in this moment. Vance, Zaddy, please be nicer.
Yeah. I see a running theme that many characters in this 1,000 years from now, in this story, are very like guarded. Mm-hmm. Because there was a lot that happened, and maybe there's people that was taking advantage, a lot of piracy, a lot of things. So he's guarded, Vance is guarded, the president of Earth is guarded, or United Earth is guarded. Like lots of leaders are just skeptical, like they're like cautious of anyone new coming in. And like Discovery's success was really wiped from the history. Mm-hmm. So they have to prove themselves, and like their first day on the job, they just need to step up and
but like prove themselves within the ranks. No, because like I didn't want them to be separated like Vance was suggesting. I didn't want that. I was like, no, but like at the end of the day, even though, well, I don't want to jump too far ahead. I feel like they won this. They won Vance over with Saru and not with Michael. And I think Michael was more of a hindrance in this episode than she was helping when it came to the political side. When it was the away mission, she was great because that's where she thrives. But when it comes to politics and understanding, I don't care that you think you're right. I'm the admiral. You listen to me. You're not in Starfleet because you were one day, because you were 1,000 years ago. You're in Starfleet if we decide to keep you. Like,
well, I think there was two things. So Vance wanted to ensure that their stories were the same, that they weren't like making all of this up and really there to be like a Trojan horse and then destroy their whole organic and engineering network. But mm-hmm. then also their stories, once they were like debriefing, were just crazy. Like, so it was hard to believe. Like when they asked Hugh and he was like, yeah, I was dead, but I came back. And then I was working with the guy who killed me. And then like,
okay, hold on. That line of, me and my murderer, we're cool now. What? I paused on that line. I'm really glad you just said that, because I paused on that line and I was like, Hugh, really? Because even I don't even know if that was a real guy who was interviewing him or if that was a hologram that was interviewing him. But they gave him a little side eye like, what did you just say? Yeah, like me and my murderer, we're cool now. Just say you don't hate your murderer, but don't say you're cool now, because I'm sorry, I'm always going to be wary of the guy who snapped my neck. But sorry, continue.
And then Jet was talking about how she was like stranded on a planet, and then they came in and helped her. Like, and so
it was raining Starfleet officers.
Right. So all of these stories, one after another.
I'm gonna need some snacks. I'm really hungry.
Right. And then she wanted to drink.
I'm gonna need something to drink.
And then Giorgio from another universe, a mirror universe. So all of this, I think, was traveling on mushrooms. So time and time again, they were just hearing lots of things. Are like, really? Like, really? Like, this is too good to even make up.
Yeah, you're right. Because it's at that point where it's just like, it's too crazy to be a lie.
Oh, a lie, yep.
So this has to be the truth. So Vance was like, Discovery blew up in 2255 or 2258. Wouldn't you be able to pull up a roster of everyone who was on the Discovery and see that it matches everyone who's here. Like when he said that, it was like, okay, well, then you would have known who was on the Discovery when it blew up. It matches. And you can like, and your hologram people who are like staring at them sideways can tell that they're not lying, that they're like, they are who they say they are. So why are you being like, I feel like part of it was Vance was being annoyed with a certain person, that he was being more difficult than he needed to be. Like he was definitely being cautious. We definitely know he was being cautious, but I feel like at some point he was just being an a-hole to Michael. Right. About the whole, well, we have a spore drive. We can get there and get there really quickly. We can do that. And it's like, you can't. I'm like, Michael, you're showing him that you can't take orders that you don't like. That is what you're showing him. And that was one of the holograms even said it. It was like, you have an emotional exaggeration. And I was just like, oh, so it's not just me. I'm not crazy. She does have an emotional exaggeration when it comes to the way she reacts to stuff. And she got called out real quick.
Yeah. And I think Vance was similar to like that school principal that really knows what happened with the fight, was really asking, well, your perspective of it to see if it matches, right? Mm-hmm. So I think he read the report. He probably knows all of those other details, but it's still 950 years ago. Like, it's still like, this is still unbelievable. And what should I believe, and how, and I can understand wanting to possibly split them up, because it would maybe deplete their power instead of having them all together, like distribute their knowledge a little bit and test them a little bit more. I think it could be a defense mechanism for the Federation. I'm glad they kept them together because I love these characters. But
so, unpopular opinion, maybe. I didn't see that as a bad thing about them being separated, because they don't know enough about the future to be of assistance. I don't think this, like, even though they had like a little away mission this episode, they need to go to school. Yeah. Like overwhelming, underprepared. It's like almost criminal. And because like in the opening scene of how they were reacting to what standard technology, they can't keep doing that.
Right.
And so, yes, granted, while the security chief Willa was being like, can this old bucket of whatever do it? And they all looked at her, and it's like, she has a valid point. Your ship's 1,000 years old. And like, you're all using technology. And while the spore drive is better than anything that they have to get anywhere, to jump, to get as far as possible, to be able to get to where they need to go quickly. And yes, the spore drive can connect all the sectors and bring Starfleet closer than ever. You're still running it on a ship that is outdated in every sense of the word. And your crew thinks standard technology is mind-blowing. You guys need to take a chill pill and go back to school. I think they all need a year off of the ship to really even come to terms with, one, you're in the future. Because Vance made a point of saying, none of you guys have come to terms with that. Like, really. 2, learn your history, because what your ancient history is, your history is now ancient history. Okay. Like, your history is literally ancient history. What you went through 2 months ago was 1,000 years ago for some people. Right. So like, you need to learn what the world is like now, pre and post burn. What is like, who knows what new Starfleet regulations that are going on. Like, there's so much that you don't know, and you can only learn it by actually being around people and being taught and being open to learning. And like, I mean, granted, no, I like you, I don't want to see them separated, but they need to be for at least a moment to come to, they need to make connections outside of themselves. First of all, they need to make roots in this new timeline, and they need to learn what's actually going on. Because granted, while they want to feel superior because we're from the past, everything you know is outdated.
Right. And Michael had that experience, but not the rest of the 300 other crew members. And I still think Michael needs some more time too. I agree with you.
Vance is doing what I've wanted Starfleet to do for a very long time. He's making smart decisions because he is not emotionally invested in any of these people, that he is making smart decisions. That's why he's making smart decisions, because he doesn't trust Discovery. And I think that's a very good thing right now, because the team is trying to prove their worth by helping Starfleet figure out why this alien race is like sick and dying. And so Michael throws out, oh, you got to find out, you know, where they've been and then track that. And he's like, we're already doing that. And I could tell Michael was like, God dang it, I was hoping I was doing something like new. And then Vance was like, ha, gotcha.
Right.
But
because one quick thing, because I think now in this now time, Michael is no longer the ambassador's daughter. Like, so he doesn't have that weight that she had before. And when we first met Michael, she was introduced by Sarek into the Shenzhou at that time. So I think that helped carry a little weight. Nope, she's on the ground floor. Like everybody else now. She does. And that's a really valid point. She doesn't have the same pedigree that she did from before, because she's no longer his daughter. Right. She is just another person that the Admiral does not know. So they're able to figure out the planet that caused what caused the alien race to get sick. And it's from a planet that's toxic, and that technically no longer exists. It's like they scavenged on it. And so Michael had a smart point. It was like, oh, well, you know, Starfleet, they had a seed vault, and we could probably get a seed from there, grow it, make the antidote. Good idea. And so then Vance, he's like, well, it'll take 5 months to get there. And she's like, well, we have a spore drive. We can get there whenever. And Vance is like, no, we have a spore drive. We can get there. And I will say she did make a really good point, is by pointing out, you're going to try and train them when you already have a crew of people who can do it themselves. And I think that Vance should have, he did send some security chiefs on there with him, because Saru did point out, I'll stay, because they're not going to leave Saru behind. I'll stay, and you can send the crew there. You can see how they work. But I do think they should have sent more people from the future with them, because again, Discovery is hopelessly and terribly ignorant. They're ignorant of what is happening in this world, because they just don't know. So this is where the episode went downhill for me, because first of all, I was thinking, just because Starfleet was gathering seeds 1,000 years ago doesn't necessarily mean that those seeds are still around and contained in the same place where Michael thought it was 1,000 years ago because of the burn. So I just thought, I don't know about this. If all the ships, it just seemed as though possibly they would have been stored somewhere, and that this ship has been continuing its mission for 1,000 years. Seems like maybe things would have changed at some point in time of a long history. So that was I have a lot of concerns with that. And that's where, for me, I started thinking, I don't know about this storyline. I'm not as connected.
I get why they needed the storyline, because it helped prove Discovery's, it showed they were a capable group. But I agree that the storyline was very far-fetched, and it was like annoying. I don't know. And I felt like this episode was sort of like an emotional episode for a certain character. And I was like, I don't care about her like that. So why I got more joy out of Paul, Tilly, and Jet arguing, and Security Chief Willa like, this is not productive. Like, well, it's productive for us. And Jet's like, no, it's not. I got more joy out of those, of them arguing and bickering than I did about the emotional connection. Sorry, the security officer, Nan, connecting with someone from her home planet. And because she's not one of the OG crew. I'm not connected to her. So maybe they needed a reason to write her off, and this was their reasoning. They gave her an episode, a send-off. But everything about being on the ship, finding the plants, finding the gentleman, the guy whose family died, which is tragic. None of it connected to my soul.
I agree with you there. And maybe it's also because Nan has appeared and disappeared out of many episodes. She wasn't consistently there. Now, Jet's not always consistently there, but she's really cool character. And there wasn't a lot of development of Nan. The main points that I remember, not points, but action scenes is pushing Arium out of the headquarters for Section 31.
Yeah,
the airlock. But other than that, I don't remember a lot of interaction with you. As I agree with you, it wasn't a lot, so I didn't connect as much to that storyline. I just thought that it was just weird to have this whole mission for the seeds that weren't stored at Federation headquarters. I thought just by now they would have stored them somewhere.
Because what's the point of having the ship just flying? I get the ship goes and gets the seeds and brings them to pick them up,
right?
But store them on Earth. There's a vault in Switzerland, I think the country is, where they have a seed vault of every type of plant ever created. It's not on a ship that just floats, and it's not on a plane that just flies. It's in one place, so that way you know where it is when you need it. Which I think it should have been somewhere. Maybe after the burn they wanted to keep it mobile because you can never go to warp. Maybe that's why it was so far away, because it can't warp back. It could never warp anymore because the warp they were I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Again, the only reason this episode happened, I think, for two reasons: to prove Discovery how they could work as a team, and two, to write Nan off the show, or Nan off the show, however you say her name. That was the only reason it was brought. It didn't make any sense for it to be that type of family. It didn't make any other sense. It's oh, we joined the Federation again. This is why you guys need to go back to school, because you don't understand what is going on. You have the education level of history of an infant right now. Right. Do you guys not get that? Right. You're smart, yes, but you're smart like a child is to them. You don't know how to use organic matter, and that's an everyday thing for them.
So Hugh was able to travel with them to, is it Tignva? The basically ship? The ship that carried all of the seeds.
To Cove, I think.
But no one from the Federation went with them to the ship that had all this. I don't know. I just thought that was
someone from the future should have, or the present,
right,
should have went with them. You're right. This is. So I said advanced made smart decisions. A lot of other stuff. I know you want to show off, but remember, you're showing off a canoe to a yacht. Yay, I own a canoe. We own a yacht. Good for you. You're missing the point, people. As I really hope the next episode they have a deep dive in history. Because Michael, you should understand a little bit more about the future, and it seems like you just spent your time being a courier just waiting now, because you should know what ships have. You should have informed your team. You should have gave them a deep dive. They shouldn't be so shocked at what's standard now.
Yes, I was surprised she didn't have any knowledge of Earth. She didn't ask around about that,
and no one was able to say, "Oh no, we don't go to Earth. We don't talk about Earth. No." It's what do you think about that old guy talking to Georgiou?
Well, I'm worried about Georgiou now.
Me too.
Which is the reason why they need to know their history, right? So It seems as though there was a problem with Terrian population,
with their stem cell, there's something wrong with them
with their stem cells, right?
Yeah, or something on their cellular level. Yeah. Something is wrong with them. But that old guy, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, because When everyone else was being interviewed, I didn't see him standing in there. Or anyone else who was actually standing in there. There was always just one interviewer. I didn't see anyone else. And then like he was a little too cordial. Like, I don't know, he just had this, everyone else was doing their job efficiently, asking questions efficiently, trying to figure out what's going on. And he seemed almost as if he was having fun.
Yes, and Giorgio had to stay behind. Giorgio and Saru stayed behind, so there might be more with Giorgio's storyline to come. But yeah, he was diving in, and I don't even know that Giorgio knew that she was separated from the rest of Discovery, because I think she would have fought to return to be with Michael.
And he even makes a point to say there's someone on Discovery that you care about. And then we even see at the end near the end of the episode that something's off with Giorgio.
Right.
Like Michael was talking to her for like a good couple of minutes, and or not a couple of minutes, that's exaggeration, but like 30 seconds, and Giorgio did not respond. Right. And then when she finally did, she's like, I'm fine. And then walked around her and was like worried, like something's going on. And so part of me wonders, is that guy lying? Did he lie to her and like maybe infect her with something, and then is going to blame it? And she's like, oh, well, they did say this is like disease that Terrans have. I don't know. That guy just gave me weird. He gave me Section 31 vibes.
I agree. I really like, though, Giorgio's outfit.
Yes.
He always has the best like black, like leather, like non-Starfleet Section 30, whatever she's got going on. Mm-hmm. So Grisham did a really good job with those uniforms and those costumes. But she was able to troubleshoot and figure out that they were holograms that were interviewing her and blink her way out of that. That was really cool. And then also to find out that a lot of the...
You're not a hologram because I just blinked.
And a lot of holograms in the future, or I should, let me back up. So a lot of the medical staff are holograms as well. Mm-hmm. So Hugh could be out of a job in the future.
So that makes me wonder, are they like holograms of real people, or are they just like fake holograms? Like, is it like someone who's like a real person who's just not physically in the room with them, but like they're doing the interview? Like almost as a protection thing, like, hey, you may be sick. I don't know what you guys have. So we're going to interview you from like a safe spot.
Oh, I think they're complete AI. It's not even like Section 31 was like, it's AI inside of another body. It's not even like Arium. It's a complete projection, it looks like. Because they didn't even know how to react to the whole blinking.
Yeah, they were shocked that she knew how to do that. They're like, wait, stop what you're doing. Stop that. Like, you broke my hologram.
Yeah. But she was able to pick that up quickly, that they didn't blink at all.
I have to say, Michael needs to stop being so defensive about her crew. They need help. Dittmer needs help.
Yeah.
Dittmer does not need to be a pilot right now. She has a lot of PTSD going on right now. And to say, I will always put my life in her hands. Maybe she doesn't need that right now. Like how Hugh had to step back when he came back, because he's like, I need to step back because I'm not okay. Right. I think she needs to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not putting my life in her hands if she freaks out. It doesn't matter what the end result is. If she doesn't even trust herself to fly, I'm not going to trust her to fly. If she's going to freak out behind the helm, I don't want her to fly.
Even Spock knew when to step back, and he admitted himself to the psych ward, because he was like, this isn't right. So sometimes I think Michael needs some time to step back and reflect. Especially after the whole thing with Ash.
She had a year vacation, and I think she needs to keep Book with her. I need Book back, because I can't believe I'm saying this. I need him back, because I don't know, maybe he was able to like open her up a bit, like make her relax a bit more. And she needs that, because you can't be so defensive. I think the entire Discovery crew, and I think Saru is doing this, which is why he's more understanding, because Saru and Georgiou are like the only people on Discovery who basically gave up everything to be in Starfleet. We find out that Nan eventually did, but she's not really important. I apologize to the actress. You did a great job. You just don't care about the character. But like Saru changed his entire way of life. So he's better at adapting to changes. Georgiou left an entire universe. To come to this, well, she was forced on this universe. But like everyone else is not understanding. You can't expect them to adapt to you. You need to adapt to them. And I think the understanding is Discovery is expecting them to, like I said in the beginning, give them a hero's welcome and to adapt to where Discovery is. And I'm like, Discovery, you need to actually adapt to where the future is. You need to stop thinking that they owe you anything, because they don't. And like, even though Ben said he was thankful that because what you did, the universe survived, if you're telling the truth, but because of what you did, it wasn't like, there was nothing and then we just populated in the future. Life moved on without you. You need to be brought up to speed. And you need to adapt to the world that you're in and stop living as if you're in the past and stop expecting them to be okay with you guys doing things the way you did, because you don't really know what the future holds anymore. You don't really know what's expected of you, because you're not, they're like, oh, we know everything, we're good. No, you don't, because you know how you went to Earth and that almost ended in a shit show? And now you're going to this place and that's ending in a shit show because you can't keep your mouth shut and we're going to be separated. There was always, when you were even in Starfleet, you could get transferred to different ships. So it's a known thing. So
that's why I'm concerned about them going out on all of these away missions, like this one that because they spore drive drunk. So someone could think that they have the lithium, right? And that's how they got into trouble at Earth. So they need to be more cautious and careful about where they're going and how they're going, because also they don't have the level of weapons and protection like force fields that all these other ships have, and advanced tactical skills. They just need to be careful. One more thing about that: the more that they go out and interact, the more people know that they have all of these tools and to their disposal. Now the scientist knows, and who knows where else Nan is going to go in this process. And she could tell, I don't know. It's just a whole lot of other people that know.
And that's a good point to the fact that Michael kept saying, we're a science vessel. And then Vince would tell her, we don't do 5 years explorations anymore. That's not our goal. We don't, like, basically like, we don't care. They are hopelessly ignorant. They're hopelessly ignorant of what the new scenario is, because their goal is they're taught to fire second.
Yeah.
Always assume the best.
Right.
Fire second. And this Starfleet is more like a fire first.
Right.
Or fire at the same time.
Right. Right. Or this Starfleet doesn't care about seeds. This Starfleet doesn't care about the Endangered Species Act and all this other stuff that like Michael and Book and like all of these other acts that were part of like Discovery's original mission is out of the wayside. Like now it's all about like, I think,
survival.
Defense of the Federation.
So there's a lot that they have to learn and go through. And hopefully we see some more growth from the Discovery side, because at this point, they can't expect Starfleet to conform to them. I think they need to conform to Starfleet. And I hope, and in my mind, it would make sense for them to be separated. Because at that point, even if you take off half the people off the ship and replace it with new people, like another half of people, then you start to create connections offside of the ship. It doesn't seem so much as a closed entity. Even if you keep the same bridge crew, because really that's all you really need to keep on that ship is the same bridge crew. And engineering, because you need the spore drive. Yeah. But you can't expect to learn if you're never exposed, if you're never pushed out of your comfort, and you cannot live in a bubble. And I think Discovery is trying to live in a bubble, and I think Saru is understanding you got to trust the process. You got to move outside of the bubble, learn and understand this new world that you're living in, because you saved the future. So don't expect the future to meet you. You got to meet it. You got to learn. You have to learn what's going on. So
they need like apprenticeships with other ships in the Federation. But then I was thinking, my problem with Hugh helping to save this alien race is that maybe there's other technology advances in 1,000 years that Hugh needs to catch up with. I don't know, approaches to this, but he was able to help them and give them the antidote. But it just seemed like in the future, I hope there's better healthcare.
I mean, yeah, for the poison, they had to find the original source and create like an antidote from that. But like, yeah, like medically, there could be a whole different medical school that he doesn't know.
Right.
There's so much. And the only way that they stay relevant is they never update their ship. But if they never update their ship, they're hopelessly and completely always outmatched. We'll see. We will see, people. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Are we horribly, horribly dead inside people? Or are we on the right track when it comes to Discovery need to get their act together? But thank you for listening and thank you for hanging out with us today. Take this on my hand. As always,
I'm Manika.
I'm Andrea. And live long and prosper.